This is Courage Barbell, and I'm your host, Chad Ikes. We are always trying to expand and make a better program when possible. So I got some new equipment I'm working with. We're looking to go into an actual podcast, which I'm looking into and researching right now, that you can download off Shopify or iTunes or that kind of stuff. I still have a regular job. I'm still doing my regular stuff, so I'm a little slow sometimes getting everything done. Today, I want to talk about something that really made a huge step forward in my training, and if I wouldn't have done this, I would have never reached the level I did. And for those of you that don't know, there's actually some people that say I'm a legend in this sport, which I don't really know, but it's an awfully humbling comment. I did put up some of the greatest numbers of all time. I was one of the top strength athletes in the world for a while. And now I'm on the downhill slope of getting older and dealing with all this other shit. But I love the sport. I love lifting, and I still want to pass on as much information as I can, and I'm still learning. I'm still talking to the people I know and to the better lifters that are coming up, and always looking to expand my knowledge and share that knowledge. The truth, the actual truth. I'm not trying to BS people, which you see a lot of people, and I guess I can't blame people for trying to make a living, but isn't there a way to make a living and tell the truth at the same time? So basically what I want to talk about today is changing your technique and how long it takes to change your technique. One of the biggest fundamental or foundational pieces to your strength training program, to your gaining strength, is your technique. If your technique is not correct, you're not lifting as much as your body is capable of. I had an example when I was earlier in my career, I should say. I did a competition with a friend of mine who was just strong, just a genetic freak. And he had went out and did an 800 squat. And he came back and I'm like, holy shit, dude, man. I bow down. You're stronger than me. There's no way. That was basically a good morning. Like, I could not do that. And then I went out and squatted 850. He could have been squatting probably 9, but his technique was so horrible and he wouldn't change it and learn the right technique to get the most out of his body. I was very fortunate that powerlifting was one of the first sports in my life where I actually checked my ego and decided I needed help and I didn't have enough knowledge, and I needed to find the people that could show me, and I needed to stand by what they said and not blow it off, and I needed to give it the attention that it deserved. So when I started powerlifting, my very first meet I totaled 1,700, and that was just from my regular training, from stuff I'd learned from throwing, but I hadn't competed. I was 27 years old. I hadn't competed in 5 or 6 years at anything. And my training was just going to the gym and beating the crap out of myself because I enjoyed it. It was lifting heavy because I liked to lift heavy. But I had no idea like what really good technique was and where I was supposed to be. So at that point, that's when I went, okay, who do I want to learn from? And I did a lot of research on who I decided to learn from and who I was going to listen to. So once I found that person, which happened to be Dave Tate, Elite FTS and Conjugate, Westside, all that stuff, they ripped my technique to shreds. Dave, we're talking old school Dave, and I think Dave is kind of like all of us where he's gotten a little nicer over the years. He was brutal. And keep in mind, at this time, I'm training at a local gym here in Reno, and I'm doing Olympic style squats, 5 sets of 5 with 565, no belt, ass to grass, man. I mean, like stopping on the bottom because that's as low as I could go. And like, I don't think there was anyone in the gym that I was at doing that at that time, especially not that deep. But I was quads. I was all quads. Once Dave actually showed me how I was supposed to squat, it was unbelievable, man. It felt horrible. I was weak as shit. My hamstrings and posterior chain were so bad. And I went back to the gym and I started with an empty bar because I could not box squat 135 correctly. Like, I just didn't have it. So that was it. That was the beginning. To me, that's really where my powerlifting career started. Because before that, I'd been training, it'd been about a year maybe since my first meet, and I was just floundering. I mean, I wasn't making much progress. I was struggling. And that was the point where it was like, okay, I need to learn what I need to learn what I don't know, and I need to get better, and I'm not going to get better without knowledge. So I started training my brain, and I learned technique, and I understood technique. So I know a lot of people don't want to take that step back, and a lot of people won't do what I did. You go from 565 for 5 sets of 5 to can't do 135. That's a huge ego stomp. It's a punch in the face. It was difficult, and the rack that I was in was right next to where everyone walked in, and like, I think 2 people came by, and then I just started flipping people off. Before they even opened their mouth, I'm like, just keep walking, just keep going, just keep going. You'll see, just keep going. Because everybody's like, you hurt? What's wrong? What's going on? And like, nobody got it. Like, well, why would you, if you're weaker, why would you want to change? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And that's where I kept going, you'll see, you will see. Because I knew I put enough thought into this concept and idea to learn from the best. And I was all in. No matter what it took, I was all in. So how long does it take to change your technique? It took me 6 months. And right around the 6-month point, I had a competition and I PR'd my squat. So that was 6 months of completely rebuilding. And trust me, my dedication was spot on. Like, I was doing 100 box squat reps after squat sessions, just body weight, just trying to get them perfect. Every time I got off the couch, I was looking, what is my technique? I would scoot to the edge of the couch. If I was on the crapper, I did not get off the crapper without squatting correctly off of the crapper. Like, every single thing I did. When I was, at the time, I had a job driving a forklift and inventorying stuff in a liquor warehouse. When I sat on my forklift, I would put my feet out and try to root my feet and think about flexing and where I needed to hinge and how hard my glutes were flexing. And it was getting out of my chair at work. You scoot to the edge of the chair and you squat out. Like, it was on my mind all the time, and I dedicated myself to getting good technique, to understanding technique. So how long does it take? I think that depends on who you are, how bad you are right now, what your dedication level is. You know, it could have taken me a year if I would have kept trying to go heavy too. You know, there's a point where, and when I was building up, it was like, I initially started by going, listen, I got to be able to do this right with a little bit of weight. So that's when I started with an empty bar. I go, if that's all I can do today, I'm going to do a ton of reps correctly with an empty bar. And then I start building up slowly. And then I start building up slowly. And then when I can go 200 or 300 pounds, it was like, okay, now I kind of had the technique down. I got the movement patterns down a little bit. Now I need to start adding some weight to this, because what good is this if it breaks down every time I get heavy? So then I started adding more weight and trying to build up. But there's a point where it's like, dude, my technique went to shit. All right, let's try that weight again and see if we can do any good technique. If I can, maybe let's go up a little bit. If I can't, okay, that's where the break in my technique is. What do I need to make stronger so I can go heavier without that break in technique? And that simple theory right there is what set the base for my whole career, because that's what it was. Once I had the technique down, once I was squatting 900, 1,000, 1,100 pounds, it was still the same thing. It was like, okay, how heavy can you go? Okay, that's your max. Where did it break down? Like, I never missed a lift because I wasn't strong enough all around. I missed lifts because I had weak points. So I had to find the weak point. I had to fix the weak point. But again, none of that can happen unless you have good technique and you understand technique. So what I'm trying to explain is, like, sometimes you got to take that big jump backwards in order to start moving forward again. I guarantee if I would have never taken this step, I would have never squatted. I don't think I would have ever done a drug-free 1,000 or never done like 11, 1,200. I think I would have probably got to 8 or 9 and that would have been about it, because that's how important technique is. And then this video kind of started with my thought of, hey, people ask me how long it takes to change your technique. Well, it depends. That's a variable question. Like I said, I'm dropping stuff on the floor. New cords. I got cords everywhere now. I'm not used to that. It depends on what you're willing to give to it, just like everything else. But then another thing I want to go ahead and bring up right now is that after I did that first seminar and I talked to Dave, when things didn't go exactly as planned, I never quit on it. I went, wait a minute, okay, so this isn't working. Well, like this program and these concepts I believed in, and I dedicated myself to them. So if they're not working, maybe the problem isn't the program. Maybe the problem isn't the knowledge that I was taught. Maybe the problem is how I'm looking at it or how I'm going about it. So I never looked at it as that's the problem. I looked at it as what am I not executing correctly? And that's when I would go back and consult with the guys that I learned from and ask them questions and go, hey, wait a minute, I'm running into this, man. Like, what do you think? I'm not sure what's going on. I didn't give up on the program. I knew the program was sound. That's why I did it in the first place. Like, I didn't just randomly throw out a deck of cards with different programs written on them and draw one. I put time and thought into it. And that goes back to the fact that I know that this is a sport of physical strength. How much can you lift? But the fact is, your brain controls your body. Every great strength athlete I know is very intelligent, at least in the realm of strength and training and technique and programming and all that stuff. The theory, I've never met a really, really great meathead. I mean, they may be kind of meatheads in certain areas, and they may play meathead, but they're actually very intelligent about how they approach it. Even to the point that there's some guys that I've met that are really natural. Like great technique comes natural to them. But they're smart enough to listen. They're smart enough to go, hey, man, I may not understand all this, but I know that my body, I'm going to listen to my body, and my body's going to tell me what I need to do, and I need to not let my ego get in the way. I need to just listen to what it's telling me. So I think this video is probably more for a lot of newer lifters or intermediate lifters. Like, if you're not making the gains you want, you really need to take a new approach to it. And it all starts with your thought processes and how you look at strength. And sometimes we need to step back and we need to see it from an outside perspective and maybe even get that perspective from some other people and look at what we're doing. I mean, I even see some guys that are pretty good lifters that have good numbers. And I look at their training or I look at their technique and I'm like, man, there's still a lot of room for improvement. Like, this guy's doing a lot, or girl's doing a lot of stuff really great, but there's still a lot more room. Which goes back to one of my t-shirts. There's always more. I mean, there's always more no matter what. And once you forget that and once you quit looking for that more, that's when you start stagnating. So, man, don't be afraid to seek advice, but think about where that advice is coming from. Don't just look at Joe Blow in the gym. Look at the best of the best, because they're out there, and a lot of those guys are willing to hand out that knowledge that they worked so damn hard for. And then don't be afraid to take a step back and start over. Strength is a very long-term sport or endeavor. Like, it doesn't happen overnight. I don't care who you are. You're not going to bench 200 plus pounds in a year. Like, strength comes slow. If you put 50 pounds on your bench in a year, you're doing pretty good. If you're a high level athlete and you're putting 50 pounds on your bench in a year, you're doing amazing. So just step back and look at how you're seeing things and how you're interpreting things. And don't be afraid to change. Don't be afraid to take that 6 months. Even if you had, like I had 565 for 5 sets of 5. That's a decent level of strength. I wasn't worried about losing strength because I'm like, okay, I don't know how long this is going to take, but if in the long run, if I hate that strength now, I can get that strength back again. And if I'm continually working, even if I'm not pounding weights, it's not like that strength's just going to go away overnight. Like I had a base. So yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and end on that note. Otherwise, I'll just keep rambling for hours. Please like this channel. Please subscribe to this channel. I'll try to let you guys know when we get the actual podcast up so you can listen to stuff on the way to work and that. And I'm actually thinking about doing maybe trying to find time to do 1 or 2 small podcasts a week just on kind of some motivational thoughts that I use to keep going and keep getting stronger and keep progressing at every area of my life. And then continue to do this. And I have some confirmations from a lot of really cool, really amazing lifters that said they'll do interviews once I figure out all this long distance interviewing and computer and software and crap that I'm not really all that awesome at. So please like the channel, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications on the channel. Please stop by couragebarbell.com, pick up some apparel. I got new stuff. I'm trying to get it all up and get it going, but there's a lot of cool stuff in the store already. Please check out my Instagram, which is just Chad Ikes. And I'm going to let you guys go, and I will talk to you later.